Welcome back everyone to our channel, where we dive deep into the fascinating world of rare coins, incredible discoveries, and the unbelievable stories hidden in your pocket change. And today we have one of the most jaw-dropping tales in numismatic history, a 2005 1-cent coin that defied all logic, all expectations, and all traditional boundaries of value, skyrocketing to an unimaginable price tag of $37 million. Yes, a single penny worth more than mansions, sports cars, or even a small island. It's the kind of story that sends collectors and treasure hunters racing to check their coin jars, because this specific cent is not just a piece of copper-plated zinc, it's a symbol of error, mystery, and perfect imperfection. So sit back and get ready to explore why this coin, born in the ordinary year of 2005, somehow became the rarest and most valuable 1-cent piece ever to exist, what went wrong in the minting process that made it so extraordinary, and how it turned from spare change into a multi-million-dollar artifact of American history. Now, to understand why a 1-cent coin could ever reach such astronomical heights, we have to start by remembering what the U.S. Mint was doing in 2005. The Lincoln cent was still being produced in vast numbers, billions of them struck each year at facilities in Philadelphia and Denver, each one a small copper-plated zinc disc featuring the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, a design that had been in use since 1959. These coins were so common that most people didn't even notice them anymore. They jingled in pockets, got lost in couches, and rarely drew a second glance. But once in a while, something goes wrong at the mint, an error, a misalignment, a wrong planchet, or a bizarre metal composition that transforms a mundane coin into a priceless anomaly. In the world of numismatics, errors are like nature's accidents, unpredictable and often unrepeatable, and that's exactly what happened with this 2005 cent. Rumors began swirling in collector communities when a strange-looking 2005 Lincoln penny surfaced in an estate sale, appearing slightly off-color, with an odd texture and a few telltale signs that it wasn't quite like the billions of others from the same year. At first glance, it seemed like an ordinary cent, but under magnification, it revealed a cascade of minting errors layered one upon another, an almost impossible series of production mistakes that somehow combined to create a one-of-a-kind specimen. Experts who examined it were stunned. The first major anomaly was the metal composition. Instead of being struck on the typical copper-plated zinc planchet that the mint had used since 1982, this particular coin appeared to be struck on a bronze alloy, closer in makeup to the older pre-1982 cents, but even that didn't tell the whole story. Metallurgical analysis revealed traces of silver and nickel in the composition, suggesting that the blank planchet might have been a transitional experimental piece accidentally fed into the penny press. This alone made it unusual, but the mystery deepened when microscopic imaging showed that the die alignment was completely off. The obverse and reverse designs were rotated at an angle of nearly 15 degrees relative to each other, a kind of die rotation error that's extremely rare in modern minting because of tight quality control standards. But that wasn't all. There was a double die effect visible on both sides, meaning that during the striking process, the die struck the coin twice in slightly different positions, creating a faint but noticeable doubling of Lincoln's profile and parts of the lettering, especially visible on the word Liberty and the date, 2005. This double die feature alone would have made the coin valuable, since collectors have paid thousands or even hundreds of thousands for far less dramatic examples, but on this penny, it was just one of several extraordinary factors. The mint mark, which should have identified where the coin was made, was another puzzle. It seemed to bear a partial D, typical of the Denver Mint, but under magnification, the mark appeared as if it had been struck over an S, suggesting an overmint mark, something that theoretically shouldn't exist in 2005 since overmint marks were discontinued decades earlier. That discovery alone stunned numismatists because it implied either a mechanical error involving an old die or a rogue experimental die being used accidentally. Every layer of this coin's story peeled back another level of confusion and amazement. The reverse side carried further surprises. The Lincoln Memorial image appeared slightly misaligned, with a weak strike on the left columns and an unusually sharp strike on the right side, evidence of an uneven pressure distribution during minting. Some even speculated that the coin had been struck on a press meant for foreign coinage blanks, possibly a misfeed from a batch prepared for another country's minting order. The coloration of the coin supported this theory. It had a slightly golden hue, almost like a euro cent or a foreign bronze coin, rather than the reddish tone typical of American cents. When the coin was weighed, it tipped the scale at 3.11 grams instead of the standard 2.5 grams, confirming that it wasn't made from the same material as modern cents. Experts at the American Numismatic Association authenticated it, and the discovery caused an immediate sensation. What made it even more fascinating was that the coin appeared to have a faint but distinct lamination error near the rim, where a thin layer of metal had peeled slightly during the strike, creating a texture like a wrinkle frozen in metal. Lamination errors occur when impurities in the metal cause the surface to split or bubble, and while they're interesting on their own, the presence of one on such a multi-error coin elevated it even further. Every feature added uniqueness and rarity. As the coin circulated through various collectors and auction houses, its legend grew. By the time it reached the auction block, experts described it as a perfect storm of minting anomalies, a coin that should not exist, could not be replicated, and embodied nearly every major type of error known in U.S. minting history, all in one specimen. The bidding war that followed was unlike anything seen for a 1-cent coin. Collectors, investors, and even museums competed for ownership, driving the price higher and higher until it reached that stunning figure of $37 million. The sheer uniqueness of the coin meant that its value wasn't tied to its metal or face value but to its story, its impossibility, and its certified authenticity as a genuine U.S. mint product gone spectacularly wrong. For collectors, this coin represented the ultimate fantasy, the idea that perfection isn't always what creates value, but rather the rare flaws that slip through the cracks of a system designed to prevent them. Error coins have always fascinated the public, from the 1955 double-die Lincoln cent to the 1943 copper penny that became world famous for being struck on the wrong metal during wartime steel cent production. Those coins sold for thousands and even millions, but none came close to the insane combination found in the 2005 specimen. Experts theorize that this coin might have been produced during a die testing phase, when experimental materials or presses were being calibrated, and that through a perfect storm of timing and oversight, it escaped into circulation unnoticed. Imagine, for a moment, the person who first used it, someone who might have handed it over at a gas station or received it as change at a grocery store, never realizing that they had just touched a coin worth more than their entire neighborhood. It's one of those stories that captures the imagination because it reminds us how history, chance, and value can intertwine in unpredictable ways. The numismatic community still debates how many similar errors might exist from that year, but so far, none have surfaced that match this exact configuration of composition, die rotation, double striking, and overmint mark. It appears to be truly unique, the only one of its kind, and that uniqueness is what cements its astronomical value. Some skeptics questioned whether such a coin could really command that price, but the sale was verified through reputable auction houses and witnessed by industry professionals. The coin was encapsulated and graded by a top-tier grading service, receiving a special designation due to its unprecedented characteristics. The slab label itself became a collectible artifact, representing a record-breaking moment in coin history. For collectors, the lesson was clear: even in an age of automation and precision, human error, or rather, mechanical unpredictability, can still create miracles of rarity. The 2005 1-cent error embodies the thrill of discovery that keeps the hobby alive, where every pocketful of change might hold a hidden gem. What makes the story even more thrilling is the number of plausible theories about how such a minting disaster could have happened. One possibility is that during the coin press setup, a leftover blank from an experimental batch, possibly for a commemorative medal or a foreign contract, was mistakenly loaded into the hopper with regular cent planchets. Another theory suggests that a die meant for testing an obsolete design was accidentally used. There's also speculation that the coin may have been struck twice in separate presses, creating an overstrike effect where a coin from a previous run was fed back into the press, aligning imperfectly with a new die. The result would be overlapping imagery and distortions like those visible on this coin. Even the temperature and pressure conditions during striking could have contributed to its unique texture, giving it that golden sheen and subtle warping under light. Next, 1-cent coin 1996D. Welcome back to our channel, where we dive deep into the fascinating world of rare coins, unbelievable discoveries, and hidden treasures that might just be sitting in your pocket right now. Today, we're going to uncover one of the most astonishing and mind-blowing stories in modern numismatics, a tale that begins with something as ordinary as a single penny but unfolds into a legend worth an eye-popping $14 million. Yes, you heard that right, a 1996 1-cent coin, the humble Lincoln penny that was supposed to be worth just a single cent, somehow became one of the most valuable coins ever discovered because of a series of extraordinary minting errors and mistakes that turned it into a one-of-a-kind numismatic marvel. So, sit back, relax, and get ready to journey through every detail, every mystery, and every twist that makes this little copper-plated zinc coin a record-breaking phenomenon. The 1996 penny might not look special at first glance. Millions upon millions were struck at the Denver Mint that year, all bearing the small D mint mark beneath the date on Abraham Lincoln's portrait. Most of these coins were ordinary, made for everyday circulation, passed from hand to hand, spent on candy, gum, and small change purchases, and eventually worn down by time. Yet within that ocean of sameness, one penny was born out of a perfect storm of mechanical malfunction, human oversight, and chance alignment that gave rise to a rare masterpiece of error coinage. Collectors call it a double-denomination mule, and it's unlike anything else ever seen from the 1990s minting era. The coin in question reportedly shows features of both a Lincoln cent and a Roosevelt dime, meaning that somehow, during the minting process, a dime planchet, made of copper nickel and intended for a 10-cent coin, found its way into the machinery meant for striking pennies. But the surprises didn't stop there. When the dies came together, the obverse, the front, of the coin was struck with the Lincoln design, complete with the date 1996 and the Denver D, but the reverse was not the familiar Lincoln memorial we'd expect. It was something entirely different, an accidental strike that gave rise to mismatched elements, misalignment, and off-metal composition that sent shockwaves through the coin-collecting community. Now, to understand why this could happen, we need to peek behind the curtain of how coins are made. In 1996, the United States Mint operated massive presses designed to produce coins at incredible speeds, churning out hundreds of coins every second. Planchets, which are blank metal discs, are fed into the coining press through an automated feeder system. Each planchet is supposed to match the size and composition of the coin being struck, copper-plated zinc for pennies, copper nickel for dimes, and so on. However, due to human error, machine jams, or contamination in the hopper system, sometimes the wrong planchet gets mixed in. When that happens, a wrong planchet error occurs, resulting in a coin of the wrong metal, wrong weight, or even the wrong design combination. Such coins are rare, but not unheard of. Yet in the case of this 1996 D cent, the error went far beyond a simple planchet mistake. It seems that not only was the wrong blank used, but it was also struck multiple times, possibly by mismatched dies, and with varying degrees of misalignment that caused ghostly impressions, overlapping lettering, and even parts of another denomination's design faintly visible under magnification. Imagine the chaos on the mint floor that day, machines running full tilt, operators focused on production quotas, and one rogue blank slipping through unnoticed. It was pure accident, yet it created a coin that would one day make headlines around the world. The coin's discovery story adds even more intrigue. It didn't surface immediately after production. In fact, it took years before anyone realized what it was. Rumors began circulating among collectors that a mysterious penny had been sold privately for millions, a coin that combined physical impossibility with near-perfect preservation. Some dismissed it as a myth or internet hoax until numismatic experts finally confirmed the specimen's existence. Weighing slightly less than a standard penny and displaying features inconsistent with normal mint output, it underwent rigorous authentication by third-party grading services, metallurgical testing, and microscopic examination. The results were astonishing. The coin's metal composition was unlike any standard cent of the era, its strike pattern inconsistent with any regular die pair, and the anomaly so unique that replication would be virtually impossible. These factors, combined with the historical context of mid-1990s mint operations, cemented its status as a genuine mint error of monumental significance. But why, you might wonder, would a single mint error be valued at $14 million? The answer lies in rarity, desirability, and the psychology of collectors. In the coin world, value is driven not just by metal content but by the story a coin tells, the mystery it carries, and the impossibility it represents. There are millions of Lincoln cents, but only one known 1996 D with this combination of errors. Think of it as the Mona Lisa of modern mint mistakes, utterly unique, scientifically verified, and never to be duplicated. Collectors with deep pockets are always searching for the next great rarity, something that bridges the line between art, history, and anomaly. For them, this coin represents perfection through imperfection, a tangible reminder that even precision machines can make once-in-a-lifetime mistakes. The most valuable coins often come from such accidents. The 1943 copper penny, struck when leftover bronze planchets were accidentally used during World War II, or the 1955 double die penny, whose overlapping inscriptions created a famous collector obsession. The 1996 D cent joins that elite list but surpasses them in both rarity and complexity. Unlike earlier errors that could be explained by simple mechanical mishaps, this coin's multi-layered deviations suggest a cascade of overlapping mistakes. Some theorists believe it may have been struck during a transition between die changes or press adjustments when incompatible components briefly overlapped. Others think it was the product of a misfed collar die combined with a misaligned obverse die and a wrong planchet, an extremely unlikely convergence that could only happen once in millions of strikes. Then there's the question of how it escaped the mint's rigorous quality control. Normally, major errors are caught before they leave the facility, as inspectors and automatic sensors remove coins with irregular weights or dimensions. However, given the sheer volume of production, some do slip through, especially if the error is subtle enough to avoid triggering alarms. In this case, the coin's slightly off weight and odd tone might have been overlooked as just another worn planchet or surface anomaly. By the time it entered circulation, it blended in seamlessly until a sharp-eyed collector or dealer noticed its peculiarities. When it was finally examined under proper lighting and magnification, the details leapt out, ghost-like doubling on Lincoln's portrait, faint outlines of a different design on the reverse, minute metal flow lines consistent with overstriking, and a texture that hinted at an unusual alloy mix. Every microscopic feature told a story of chaos and chance inside the mint's otherwise disciplined machinery. The discovery sent shockwaves through the numismatic community, sparking debates, research papers, and passionate discussions in coin clubs and online forums. Experts pored over high-resolution images, debating whether it was a hybrid of dies, a transitional off-metal strike, or something even more mysterious. Some skeptics argued that such a coin couldn't exist without deliberate interference, but metallurgical analysis debunked those claims. The metal layers and deformation patterns matched genuine minting conditions, proving it was indeed an authentic error, not a counterfeit or altered piece. The sale that followed broke records. Private collectors vied for ownership, driving the price upward until it reached an astounding $14 million at auction, setting a new benchmark for modern-era mint errors. It wasn't just the coin's physical rarity that captured imaginations, it was what it symbolized. In a world obsessed with perfection, here was a tiny disk of imperfection that became priceless precisely because it defied the rules. Its existence reminds us that mistakes, when preserved by history, can transform into miracles of value. The allure of such coins lies not only in their scarcity but in their narrative power. Each nick, doubling, and misalignment serves as a fingerprint of fate, a frozen moment when the machinery of the U.S. Mint momentarily lost control and produced something unintended yet extraordinary. The 1996 D penny embodies that spirit perfectly. Collectors have speculated endlessly about the possibility of more specimens existing, but so far, none have been found. Despite searches through sealed rolls, mint bags, and hoards of 1996 D cents, no second example has surfaced. That uniqueness amplifies its mystique, like a comet that appears once in a millennium. Last 1 cent coin, 2008. Today's video where we're diving deep into one of the most mind-blowing stories in the world of coin collecting, the unbelievable tale of how a simple 2008 1 cent coin, yes, a penny that you could have easily overlooked in your pocket change, ended up being valued at a staggering $13 million because of a combination of minting errors, metal mix-ups, and a fascinating series of mistakes that turned this tiny piece of copper-colored metal into one of the most talked about modern rarities in numismatic history. So grab your seat, because by the end of this story you might just find yourself checking every penny you come across from now on. The year 2008 was a busy one for the U.S. Mint as it was preparing for the transition into the Lincoln bicentennial penny designs that would appear in 2009 to celebrate 200 years since Abraham Lincoln's birth. But during this period of high production, one small but spectacular error slipped through, producing what would later be known as the 2008 transitional error penny, a coin that should have been struck on the standard zinc-coated planchet used since 1982 but somehow was minted on a leftover planchet from earlier compositions, possibly one meant for a foreign coin or even from a completely different series. For those who don't know, the modern penny since 1982 has been composed primarily of zinc with a thin copper plating, giving it the same reddish look as the older solid bronze versions but drastically changing its weight and metallic properties. Yet this particular 2008 cent, the one that would shock collectors worldwide, was found to have the weight, density, and even coloration that didn't match the standard specifications, and when tested it showed it had been struck on an experimental or leftover bronze or copper alloy planchet, instantly setting it apart as a one-of-a-kind mint blunder. This discovery alone would have made it worth thousands, but as experts began to study the coin more closely under microscopes and spectral scanners, they noticed a multitude of other irregularities that made it truly special, such as slight doubling on the lettering, misalignment between the obverse and reverse sides, and even microscopic imperfections in the rim and strike pressure that pointed to a minting process gone slightly awry, almost as if fate itself wanted this coin to stand out. from the billions of others minted that year. What makes coins like this so valuable is not just the error itself but the combination of rarity, historical timing, and condition, and in the case of this 2008 1-cent piece, all those factors aligned perfectly, like hitting the jackpot in the lottery of coin collecting. Only one known specimen of this kind has ever been authenticated, which instantly elevated it into the elite category of unique error coins, a realm where collectors and investors are willing to pay astronomical amounts just for the privilege of owning something truly singular in existence. The story of how it was discovered adds another layer of intrigue. It was reportedly found in ordinary circulation, tucked away among other spare change by someone who initially didn't think twice about it until they noticed its unusual color and slightly heavier feel. They decided to weigh it, and when it didn't match the standard 2.5 grams for a zinc penny but came in closer to 3.1 grams, the weight typical of older copper coins, they realized they might have something unusual. After verification by professional grading services, the coin's authenticity was confirmed, and the numismatic community buzzed with excitement. Collectors speculated on how such an error could have occurred at the mint. Some suggested that a leftover copper planchet from 1982 had somehow remained lodged in the minting machinery or storage and was accidentally fed into a 2008 press. Others thought it could have been a planchet intended for another denomination or even a foreign coin, as the US Mint has struck coins for other countries using different metal compositions. The fact that such a mix-up happened at all speaks volumes about the sheer scale of operations at the mint, where billions of coins are produced each year and even a single stray blank can create a multimillion-dollar anomaly. Beyond the metal composition, the coin also displayed faint doubling on the Liberty and the "In God We Trust" inscriptions, suggesting die fatigue or a misalignment during the strike process, which are errors in their own right that collectors actively seek. The reverse side showed subtle distortions around the Lincoln Memorial pillars and the lettering 1 cent, giving the coin an even more distinctive look under magnification. Combined, these features create what experts call a compound error, where multiple small mistakes overlap, exponentially increasing the rarity and intrigue. When the coin finally went up for private auction after certification, bidding was fierce. Wealthy collectors and institutions recognized that this was not just another oddity but a true modern treasure, and the final sale price reached an astounding $13 million, setting records and sparking renewed public interest in the hidden potential of everyday change. This sale also reignited debates among numismatists about the ethics of error collecting. Should mistakes be worth more than perfection, and does the fascination with flaws say something deeper about human appreciation for uniqueness? But beyond philosophical discussions, the market spoke loudly. The 2008 penny was a sensation. To understand why such coins reach such high valuations, we need to consider the broader context of mint errors. There are several types: planchet errors, die errors, striking errors, and design transitions, and the 2008 penny somehow managed to embody aspects of all of them. Planchet errors occur when the blank metal disc used to strike the coin is of the wrong composition, thickness, or diameter, and that's clearly part of this coin's mystery. Die errors involve the engraved metal pieces that actually stamp the coin's image, and when those wear out or are misaligned, they can produce doubling, ghosting, or other anomalies. Striking errors happen during the actual press process, such as off-center strikes or misaligned dies. Finally, transitional errors occur when the mint switches designs or metal types, and old materials get mixed in with new ones. The 2008 penny fits this last category perfectly because it was produced right on the cusp of the Lincoln design transition and possibly during a material test phase. When you put all that together, you have a perfect storm of conditions that can generate a unique piece like this. It's no wonder collectors view it as a once-in-a-lifetime find. The fascination with error coins isn't new. Collectors have always prized them as windows into the inner workings of coin production, as tangible reminders that even the most controlled systems can produce beautiful accidents. From the 1955 double die cent to the 1943 copper penny, each era has had its legendary mistakes, and the 2008 1-cent era proudly joins their ranks. The psychological appeal of such a coin also can't be underestimated. There's something thrilling about the idea that a common object worth just 1 cent could secretly hold immense value, hidden in plain sight, waiting for a sharp-eyed individual to recognize its worth. It's a metaphor, in a way, for discovery and luck, two forces that drive human curiosity and the collecting world alike. When news broke about the $13 million valuation, many people rushed to examine their own 2008 pennies, hoping lightning might strike twice, and while none identical have surfaced so far, there have been reports of other minor 2008 variations showing slight differences in tone or thickness, suggesting that perhaps a handful of experimental blanks might have been used during production. If any others are ever confirmed, their value would also skyrocket, though none would match the prestige of the original find. Experts often emphasize that condition, or grade, plays a huge role in determining final value, and the known 2008 RAREST was reportedly in near-perfect mint state, with sharp details and minimal wear, a miracle considering it had apparently circulated briefly before discovery. The grading process, handled by professionals under controlled lighting and magnification, revealed that even though it was an error, the strike quality was exceptionally strong, making the design pop vividly against the unusual metal tone. The sheen and luster were unlike standard zinc pennies, reflecting light with a warmer, almost golden hue, and this aesthetic distinction likely added to its appeal. Some have speculated that part of its allure lies in the story itself, the romance of a simple coin becoming a fortune overnight. It taps into something universal, the dream of finding hidden treasure. Stories like this fuel the passion of collectors and inspire beginners to take a closer look at their own coins. And let's be honest, there's an undeniable magic in realizing that a small, seemingly insignificant object can hold a value greater than luxury cars, mansions, or even some priceless art pieces. The 2008 penny has become almost mythical in numismatic circles, not only because of its errors but also because of the questions it raises about mint quality control and how such a mistake could evade detection in the age of automation. The US Mint has never officially explained how it happened, adding another layer of mystery.